This week on the TT show, the RTX 4090 ban in China is official. Steam Deck 2 is in the works. We look at the most popular GPUs according to Steam. OpenAI CEO fired and then hired by Microsoft. The Game Awards are here, and SpaceX has launched Starship for the second time. Let's get into it. This week's episode of the TT show is brought to you by the new Performance One FT PC case from Antec. Alongside the Performance One FT's airflow enhancing steel mesh and tempered glass build, it comes pre-installed with 4 high-end 30mm thick Storm T3 PWN fans. The Performance One FT simultaneously supports up to 2 360mm radiators. There's also enough room and cooling capacity to support the latest in GeForce RTX 40 series graphics cards. The Performance One FT is fully compatible with Antec iUnity, which provides instant data on PC specs, loads, and usage. By pressing the switch button on the I/O panel, which features a USB Type-C 10 gigabits per second port, users can glance at the temperature of their CPU and GPU. The new Performance One FT full tower highly customizable PC case from Antec is here. Go get yours now. Welcome back to another episode of the TT show. My name is Jak Connor. I'm a hardware editor over at Tweaktown, and I'm joined by my co-host
Kosta Andriadis, gaming hardware editor at Tweaktown.
How are you going, mate?
Yeah, pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good.
The mow is now November's in full effect.
It is. I could just shave the rest of my beard and just leave a mow, but I think my girlfriend would attack me. It would be it'd be grim. We do have a jam-packed, as always, jam-packed week of news. This one is would you say this week is a little more messy on the announcements, or?
Yeah, I think just because of the OpenAI stuff is just evolving because we're recording this, and it's just a story that is just becoming more and more, I wouldn't say crazy as time goes on.
Yeah, by the time that you guys hear this episode, I'm sure there'll be much more details about the story, or details that are a lot more solid. So yeah, a little disclaimer: this is a developing story, but we have to talk about it. It's extremely big news in Silicon Valley. But before we do that, let's talk about the 4090. Is my 4090 price just going to go through the roof here?
Yeah, so I think so. I think hold on to it and caress it.
Correct. I mean, I am already doing that. So just do what I'm doing normally.
Treat it well. That's all I can say.
I sleep with it. I take it out on my PC every night and put it next to me on my pillow. Just dreaming about frames.
It's big enough to be like a body pillow.
Yeah, it is.
Except not soft.
Looks slick though. All right, talk to me about it no longer being available in China.
Yeah, so this is a story we covered a while ago. So the US export restrictions, obviously this is a political thing where to, I guess, put a halt to China's AI development. So they're restricting what you can sell in terms of hardware and power. If it passes a certain threshold in terms of what this hardware is capable of. Yep. And for AI, we're talking about graphics cards. Then it can no longer be sold to the Chinese market.
It's insane. And it's like a bomb.
Yeah, and so when those restrictions were in place, it doesn't specify, products. It's like with any sort of ban, it's they set it to if it over this amount of teraflop performance or whatever the measurement is, it can't be sold. And, the 4090 actually entered that realm, which is crazy because it, solidifies it as a gaming GPU that's way ahead of anything else. The 4080 and AMD's top GPUs don't get anywhere near close to the threshold of that restriction.
Being bannable.
And so there was a little bit of back and forth. It was is the 4090 going to be banned because it's not really a workstation GPU? It's not designed for AI crunching. But it has been. So basically, as of now, the 4090 no longer exists on NVIDIA's website in China. So there's the 40 series, and there were even benchmarks, right? So where you would see performance of the 4070, 4080, 4090. They've redone those benchmarks to remove the 4090. The 4080, so that, it's scrubbed from their website.
Wow.
So what has happened though, apparently, is that a lot of partners have sent a whole bunch of stock of 4090s to China in the last few weeks because they knew this was happening. And the word is that stock from other countries has been redirected to China in the past month or so because of the ban coming into place. So what's happened is that there is no chance of being able to get a 49, even with because it's Black Friday sales are on at the moment, right?
Yeah, it's
sales
perfect time to pick one.
You can get GPUs, for obviously not drastically cut down prices, but discounted, pretty much any GPU you'll be able to find a discount, but you won't find it on the 4090. In fact, you won't find a 4090 even at MSRP of $1,599 US, or anything close to that. Most 4090s, if you can find them in the US, are now well over 2,000 US.
Oh my god!
4090s in China are being sold for double the retail price now, but there's still stock. You can buy them, so it's not like there isn't any. It's just that it's become this hot ticket item now.
Yeah, the banning making it
makes it more
it makes it appear exclusive, even though there is stock around.
Yes,
which creates the demand for it. It's oh wait, you can't get it, but you really can. So what's going to happen? Well, with the massive influx of GPUs into China, all of the local computer stores, are they allowed to sell them still? Even though that it is now banned. So where is all this stock going?
It's an export ban, right? So the US government has no control over what, this is my assumption. The Chinese government will be sell whatever you want in terms of 4090s. We don't care. It's like an export ban. So they can't send anymore. So a company or Nvidia or one of their partners, Asus or whoever, won't be able to actually send 4090 stocks to
I understand that. I was talking about local stores in China.
Yeah, they can sell them. Yeah, if they got them, they can sell them.
Oh, okay.
It's an export ban.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that there's a restriction on being able to send them to the country.
Yeah.
But if they're in the country, they have no control over what's being sold or.
It just seems very China to just go in, just storming your local MSY. It's give me your 4090s.
It would be
crazy. That would be crazy for a gaming card.
Yeah, and it's happening at a time when there's the super GPUs coming supposedly in January. So 4080 supers, and we talked about that last week. The confusing naming of that.
Oh yeah,
and apparently
very cool naming.
They're going to be replacing existing GPUs. So one of the other stories is that they're actually not going to be selling 4080s anymore. That will just be replaced by the 4080 Super for all intents and purposes.
So what happens when let's say mid-level card reaches 4090 performance? I know we're a long way off that, but if 4090 performance is the restriction line where if performance goes above this line, then it's banned. It's what happens when NVIDIA's stack of cards, the mid-range, reaches the 4090 performance? They're just not going to be able to sell any cards in China anymore? What percentage of NVIDIA's revenue is from the Chinese market?
Well, you would say a big chunk. It would have to be. They're one of the biggest markets in the world, you would think.
Yeah.
Just based on population and.
And what does this go for
PC
server cards as well?
The main thing. Pardon?
Does this go for server cards as well? You know how we were in Taiwan? Yeah. How we saw that when we were at NVIDIA HQ. What was it called? Hopper.
The Grace Hopper.
Yeah, where it's you can essentially, and I'm probably going to bastardize this, but Hopper tech, you're able to link GPUs together to essentially create one big GPU.
That's right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and the power of that is
but legions. Yeah. Legions more than the 4090. So what? I don't understand that.
Yeah, and this is where it gets confusing, right? So there is like a workstation version of the 4090. It's called the RTX 6000 Ada GPU. And it basically has similar specs, but it's like one of those workstation GPU, which is like a blower fan. It's supposed to go into a server rack. It has double the memory, has more cores, but it's not clocked as fast because it's not for gaming. It's got more memory and even like more specs. That GPU is obviously created by NVIDIA and like maybe one or two other companies that maybe license it. I don't know. Like workstation GPUs, it's not like there's dozens of brands like there are like, MSI and PNY and Galax and, there's Colorful and there's heaps of them that are making GPUs for gaming. So anyway, so this GPU is still listed on their Chinese website. Now that might be just because they've still got stock there and they're going to sell it. But those are workstation GPUs that are being sold for, like already like just the MSRPs are like, $6,000-$7,000 US because they're the workstation ones. For some reason, workstation GPUs just way more expensive than gaming GPUs.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to see because it also means that whatever is currently in development has to be in development under the assumption that it's not going to be sold in the region.
That is true.
For flagship successors and things like that. So
absolutely.
Like let's say the 5080, or let's say the 5070 is as powerful as, like you're saying, that's
the 4090,
right? It matches like the 4090, which probably not going to be the case, but let's say it does, then that's automatically, technically on the list.
Or the 5070 Super.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Like that's getting a bit closer to that perf. But yeah, that's this really does affect their entire roadmap. Well, it depends on how much of their revenue is from China. And like we were saying, it wouldn't be a small chunk. I feel like it'd be considerable. Yeah. This could stunt the growth of NVIDIA depending on how big that market is.
Exactly. It might even like factor into like how, but also like it's weird because then it's like, well, if it's too powerful, then why bother making something double that performance if it's going to be that controversial?
Because we need more frames, Kosta. That's why.
We need the
we need more. We need more frames, and we need higher resolutions. That's why. We don't stop for no one. I want 25% performance every generation. That's what I want. I don't want to get like to the 5000 series.
Yeah.
And then the 6000 series is just going to be like 10% performance hike on each of the respective cards because China can't, because we've hit a ceiling. Because China's this is a weapon. Chill out. I'm just trying to play like Diablo 4 at 4,000 FPS at 4K. That's all I'm trying to do.
Exactly.
They're like, that's a weapon. Yeah. Yeah. No, this is very interesting for the entire GPU space.
Yeah, like whether or not it's going to affect things. So like what we know of the 5090 now, which I mean, there's always leaks about the 5090 and people talking about it but like the word is that it's not out till 2025.
Yeah.
But it might be like early 2025 because usually there's a 2-year cycle. So apparently there won't be a next gen GPU series next year. It'll be the Super series is going to carry the GeForce for another year.
Yeah.
But the 5090, there's room. Well, the rumors are that it's going to use the 3 nanometer TSMC, the most high-end node, the one that Apple's using, which makes sense, obviously, because that's the next gen, most powerful or
where else
most cutting edge node. And it's going to use GDDR7 memory. That it's going to be insanely fast and efficient. And there's already rumors that the 5090 will be double the performance of the 4090.
That's crazy.
To be honest, like let's say that came out next year, there's no need for it. I mean, as good as it would be,
we can start playing 8K games.
Yeah, and its DisplayPort 2.1 is going to be supported finally, which should have been in the 40 series if we're being completely honest, because that's the only way you can get like proper 8K.
Yeah, I mean the fact that even 8K gaming is even being brought into the conversation is is crazy.
Do you need 8K gaming for PC?
I don't know. Of course
because
I do.
let's say it's
I do. I need it. I need it.
But like if
I want it.
99% of PC gamers are playing on like a monitor, and you're that close.
Yeah, it doesn't
Like,
matter.
where you're gonna get like an 8K, like 27-inch 8K screen?
No, I don't even know if you can. I'm pretty sure you can't shrink the pixels.
You can't get
any
the pixels
smaller
up
than
somewhere.
32 inch for 8K displays. Or at least
Okay.
that's to my knowledge. Like the freaking bulb on the pixel itself can't get any smaller. They're going to need new technology. Maybe mini LEDs might be able to do that. I'm not sure, but the last time I checked, 32 inch was the smallest monitor that you can get for 8K.
Yeah, that's why I've been disappointed with like projectors in the last 5 or 6 years, because projector is a massive screen, but like the chip, the LCD chips, like that has to fit the pixels on like this tiny little thing, and it's just so difficult to create like a 4K projector, an affordable one that isn't like the size of like a TV on its own.
Something
like,
that's obnoxious.
An 8K projector is like going to be ridiculous. So
yeah, it's IMAX. You get into cinema level projectors. All right. Do you have anything more on that story?
no,
Or
just
did you-
if you want a 4090, now's not the time to buy one.
No one's getting mine. I love mine too much. All right, let's talk about the Steam Deck.
Yeah, so we talked a bit about that crazy mod last week about 61
that
terabytes.
was awesome. I loved that. So unnecessary.
I know. So Valve announced and launched a Steam Deck refresh with an OLED display. And as we know, OLED displays are the best. Once you go
Obviously.
OLED, you don't go back.
Yeah.
But
It's like
the new
something
the new Steam Deck OLED model has a more efficient chip in it, and the OLED panel is like 90 hertz instead of like 60 hertz, and it's lighter. It's got a better battery, and apparently like it runs things a little bit smoother than the original Steam Deck. So it's like a really good refresh. So if you're looking at a Steam Deck, the OLED model, which is out now, is very, very cool. And as part of the I guess the PR or the press tour for the OLED, Valve engineers have been sitting down with outlets for interviews and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically said after this OLED, the next thing for the team is the Steam Deck 2.
Yeah.
But it could be a few years away, and by that they mean could be several, because they're waiting for a generational leap in performance before they launch an actual Steam Deck 2. Now, which is interesting because it means that they're following Valve kind of like do their own thing, right? They're following more of a Nintendo or a console type of mentality. Whereas like with GPUs, like when it comes to PCs or like CPUs, whatever, it's usually like every year or every 2 years. It's a refresh. Even like phones, right? It's like incremental updates.
Yeah.
That if you add up 3 or 4 generations, then it's a massive upgrade.
Yeah, it's a big leap.
So that's what they're going to be doing with the Steam Deck 2, which means that then there's not going to be like the current AMD Phoenix chips, which is not in the Steam Deck, but that's because it didn't exist at that time. But this is what's in the ROG Ally from Asus, and the Lenovo Legion Go, and even like new PC handhelds from companies like ANAO and a few other makers out of China or Asia that are making gaming handhelds, and which is like more efficient and a bit more powerful than the Steam Deck. And there's been benchmarks that show that, but it's not enough. So they, that was the specific chip that people asked Valve about. It's like, you got this new Ryzen chip that's more powerful, more efficient. Will that be in the Steam Deck 2? And they're saying that's not enough of an upgrade to justify a Steam Deck 2. So they want something more than that.
What do you think? Like, if you were to compare the performance, are we thinking... I mean, it's obviously going to be better than the Nintendo Switch because that's old tech. But like, how fast are they wanting to do? Are they wanting to do like a 1440p screen?
I think they'll still keep it to 1080p because 1080p at that size
At 120?
is the sweet spot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would need to be like double, I think at least double of the performance what they got now. But they said like the
1.4?
biggest, the stumbling block isn't just performance, it's power efficiency as well. They don't want, the Steam Deck 2 is not going to be sucking up more juice than the current Steam Deck.
Yeah, it needs to work on a plane. Like,
So it needs to
if
be
I was
like-
going on like a 3-4 hour flight, I want to be able to play
Yeah.
some games. It needs to not be like a gaming laptop where it lasts 2 hours.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
so that needs to be like double the performance, but also better power efficiency, which is always the goal. And like that's
It's
kind of
the
like what
balance.
Nintendo are doing with the Switch 2, right? They're not just going straight for power; they want power efficiency.
It's light, 640 grams.
Yeah, the OLED model. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good. I want one. Like the thing is, like we're obviously in Australia, as you can tell by our accents, but not really.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the Steam Deck is still not available here officially.
Really?
And now and so you've got this OLED model. I mean, there are ways to get it in the country, but it's not officially available.
Can't you just buy it online and then they send it to you?
Yes, you can, but you're you're paying a premium for that.
Oh, true.
You're paying
Okay.
people that are importing it. So like there's like Dick Smiths and stuff like those sort of they sell like import.
Oh, I was talking about like
Steam Decks.
eBay.
Yeah, I mean obviously you can get whatever
Yeah.
you want on eBay.
eBay. That's what I would do.
That's the place. All right, it's an ad for eBay.
Yeah, eBay. Sponsor the podcast.
Get your Steam Deck today.
That's where you need, if you're going to get a Steam Deck, go to eBay.
I
No,
think
that's
this is
awesome.
cool
I'm
because
excited for it. I like
PC gaming
handhelds.
handhelds.
Yeah,
same.
that's sick. I'm guessing, like, now that you've said that about that not being a big enough of an upgrade, if I was to guess, I reckon their minimum is going to be 1920 by 1080 at 120
Yeah.
hertz.
That sounds
I
about
think
right.
that'll be the minimum. I think it would be way cooler if they went to 144. Like, everyone would be like, oh, that's crazy. But also, they need to up the like 50 watt hour battery versus 40 watt hour battery. That needs to be like 80.
What's the legal limit that you can take on a plane?
I don't know.
Like in a
I have
device?
no idea.
Because they have to adhere to that, right?
Yeah, there's that, and like the battery can't be the same as these first OLED models. Like, it needs to be just a little bit better, but maybe even more optimized. Like, so you get more hours. So even if it's the same capacity, it's just, optimized more. But instead of you getting, how many hours do you usually get out of a Steam Deck?
Well,
Like, if you were just
It's like-
cranking games, 5, 6.
yeah, let's say 4 or 5. If you're
Yeah,
cranking.
I think you would need to be able to do like 6, 7, or maybe even 7, 8 on the Steam Deck too for it at 1920, 120 FPS all games. That would be
Like maybe,
glorious.
like to be honest, because like, remember how they there was like that recent law in the EU for like devices, right? Like that's going to come into effect where things need to be replaceable, or you need to be able to
repairable.
and which includes like batteries. Like you need to be able to like swap out thingos. I think like all these devices that are just all fully enclosed. Let's say you get like a Steam Deck and you just have like a battery, like replaceable batteries.
That'd be sick.
So then you have like a spare battery, and then you've
It's
got
like
like
that Steel
4 hours, and
Series
you've got 8
headset.
hours.
Yeah.
You've got like 8 hours.
Yeah, it's like your AirPods
Just to make it hot swappable. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like what's that? Do you know that Steel Series headset model that I'm talking about?
I've got one. Yeah, the Arctis.
What is it?
Nova.
Yeah,
Pro.
something like that.
And, it's got
And you
like
can go hot swappable battery pack. When I was doing headset reviews, I was like, why hasn't more people adopted this? Like the Turtle Beach had the Turtle Beach had the dock that you would like take your Astro A50s off and put into the dock thing. That looks cool, but now I can't use the headset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I just had a battery charging pack like my camera battery and just go on the side of it, that's sick. Do that for the Steam Deck. That would be wicked.
Yeah.
I'd be so down for that. Yeah, just give us 2 batteries of the same battery. Keep it 50 watt. For what hours? Keep it a 50 watt hour battery pack. Just give me 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. And we are back. We are moving on to a hot story, probably the hottest story in Silicon Valley right now. And as we said at the top of the show, this story is developing. It is, I don't know, last night I went to sleep and Sam Altman didn't have a company that he worked for, which is the OpenAI CEO, and woke up and now he's working at Microsoft. That is kind of hardly surprising, and we'll get into all of the details, but just at the start, this is developing, and by the time that you hear this show, there'll probably be some hard details out about it. So let's talk about it. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has been fired from OpenAI as the board of directors lost confidence in his direction with the company. And what do you know about it?
I mean, it was kind of like surprising, right? Because Sam and the co-founders have they've led OpenAI to the success it's seen with ChatGPT and AI and obviously Microsoft investment and stuff like that. So it just kind of came out of left field. It was like, what? He's been ousted and fired. And the thing was that it felt like it was a surprise to Sam Altman, like more or less, and a surprise to OpenAI partners like Microsoft and others. Yeah. And so it was like a whirlwind of, responses and things like that.
Yeah, he so the news was dropped on the OpenAI website, and this is just a few quotes from their full statement, which you can go check out on their website in their blog post section. The board of OpenAI took to its website to announce that it has lost faith in Altman's ability to continue leading the company and that he was, quote, not consistently candid in his communications, end quote. The OpenAI's board also gave a statement and said that it's grateful for Sam's many contributions to the founding and growth of OpenAI. At the same time, we believe new leadership is necessary as we move forward. That's pretty harsh to say about your... I mean, it suggests that Altman almost had, I don't know, ulterior motives throughout his reign at the company, and that he wasn't fully informing the board
of what he was doing.
Of what he was doing.
Reports of them developing their own AI hardware or doing things just on as they do. But that's that's like Silicon Valley. Like there's so many stories of this where I guess not necessarily charismatic, but leaders or like leading thinkers or those sort of entrepreneurs and savvy tech guys and gals that are that are taking their companies and developed and run things their own way, and then when the board comes in, it's like it's treated more like just a standard capitalist, share driven, stock market driven, growth driven, communal. The board decides this and that, and you don't want like a rogue. Go back to the early days of even Apple and stuff like that. Like this is not unknown or it's not a story that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. Where it got, I suppose, a little messy, or it started to get messy, is when Altman responded. And he took to his personal X account and said, I loved my time at OpenAI. It was transformative for me personally and hopefully the world a little bit. Most of all, I loved working with such talented people. We'll have more to say about what's next later. And this is kind of where we now know that he was, I suppose, not really aware of the current situation. Is he describes this entire experience as feeling like, quote, reading your own eulogy while you're still alive, end quote. That's big.
To make matters more interesting, at least, because when the board says we've lost confidence or they're not a great leader, they're obviously going to say things that to justify a decision like that, right? So it's going to be like, okay, that sounds justified, but So OpenAI has apparently around about 700 or so employees, and it's obviously been growing quite steadily in recent years. But since this announcement or that abrupt firing, 500 of those 700 employees, which is most of them, have signed a petition for the board to step down and reinstate Sam Altman, or they're all going to quit. That's 500.
Wow.
That they're threatening to leave, or and like this is like this. So this is an evolving situation, right? So this has all happened in like 48 hours over the weekend. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's going to continuously evolve as more info comes to light in terms of like what led to this decision and that sort of stuff, which we'll follow up as more information becomes available. But what we know now is that so Microsoft has offered Sam Altman a CEO position in an AI division to lead a team, right? And this is not a case that what's interesting about that is that he's going to be made a CEO within Microsoft. So for example, like if you look at Xbox or the gaming division, Phil Spencer is the CEO of gaming. So he leads the gaming division side, and you know he's a major figure within Microsoft because he's a CEO. Obviously you've got Satya at the top, but like Sam Altman would effectively be leading Microsoft's AI division, all the AI.
And Microsoft
huge, right?
owns they essentially own OpenAI with a $10 billion investment. And OpenAI isn't publicly traded, at least to my knowledge. Right. It is a private company. So,
and to make matters even more interesting is that there's already rumblings of like OpenAI staffers joining Sam Altman at Microsoft. So that if there's an exodus and they all join Microsoft, right? Like the legalities around that are all fine, but like let's say Microsoft were to acquire or just to say we're buying OpenAI outright tomorrow, there'd be all this sort of like regulations, like it'll be go under legal scrutiny, and the deal may not even go through. Like, you know, that's like a big corporate deal, and AI is this and that. Every other company like Google and Apple, like anybody else will be opposed to that sort of deal, right? Because they all work with OpenAI. But in this case, they've kind of like if Sam Altman signs the deal and joins Microsoft and all these other high-level people within OpenAI join Microsoft, and Microsoft still owns quite a bit of OpenAI or is invested with them so that they can still use that technology and then continue to develop new technology within Microsoft, then they've stealthily acquired OpenAI without actually a formal acquisition.
They get the best of both worlds. Yeah, this is interesting. So this is straight from the Microsoft CEO. We look forward. I'm just reading this CNN article about it. The former CEO of Amazon's streaming service, Twitch, joined OpenAI as an intern. This is all over the place.
They're replacing him with somebody from Twitch. It just sounds a bit silly.
What?
So late Sunday, the board announced that the co-founder of Twitch would be CEO. So, but then now there's like all this talk that, you know, based on like the employees signing things that he may go back to open, which will be crazy, right? Like I don't like the board, whoever the board members that ousted him would most likely step down if that's the case. Yeah. But the thing is apparently, so Satya Nadella, Microsoft CEO, is basically playing mediator or because they have interests within OpenAI, so they're calming the waters. And I mean, he's a great sort of CEO in terms of being able to work with partners. And if you look at Microsoft and how open they are now versus decades ago when Microsoft was kind of a bit more bullish in terms of how they controlled the PC market and technology. They're more open in terms of working with multiple partners in multiple fields. So who knows what's going to happen in the next few days, but it'll be interesting. So like by the end of this week or next week, we'll know more of the story and exactly what the ramifications are. But if Altman joins Microsoft, that's massive.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to follow through with it?
I think so. I don't know. Like, it depends. Like, OpenAI's, like, because the story's evolving, and like, when you hear like employees are protesting now, they're going to quit. And
Yeah,
then
but would that stop him
new
from joining though?
Well, no. Well, they want him reinstated.
Yeah, I know, but like, do you think?
He said he's open to that as well, to going. Obviously, it's because he's like built the company, so.
Yeah, there's
It's kind of
there's,
like why there's like the parallels with Apple, like with Steve Jobs leaving and then coming back. Like, he was ousted and then came back and brought the company back. But that was over like several years, right? This could happen in the space of a week.
Yeah, this is moving quickly, and there's very little hard details.
Like everything in AI, it's everything's way faster.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I suppose by the time you hear this, there'll be some more details out about this. But yeah, we just wanted to give a quick update on this story. Did you have anything else on this?
No, I just think it's going to be. I mean, OpenAI is one of the leaders in AI. Wasn't there also the leader. Something like, obviously Elon has chimed in about?
That's right. Sorry, we forgot to talk about the Mr. Musk. So, where is it? Here we go. Yeah, so Musk chimed in. He called for. I've actually got the wrong tweet in my article. I need to set that back up. I need to fix that one. I'll just pull this up here. Exposed.
Yeah. So yeah, the OpenAI. So it reiterates why they got rid of Sam, which is he was being not consistent in his communication. They're grateful, blah blah blah, but they need new leadership.
Yeah. Here. Oh, sorry. On November 20, Musk responded to a post about Altman's firing, writing that the public should be informed of why the board felt they need to take such drastic action against Altman. Musk then cited potential dangers, risks, and the power of advanced AI as to why the public should know why Altman was fired from his position. So Musk put Altman on blast, saying basically that the potential dangers of AI, and given Altman's position at the world leading company of AI, we should know why he was fired. I don't know what you think about that. That's I understand the reasoning, but
there's conflicting interests, right? Because XAI is an OpenAI competitor that is a startup. So Elon, his I guess his horse in this race is not OpenAI.
Yeah, so of course.
Automatically, you got to take things with a grain of salt. But also as well, like, I mean, if we want to get into tinfoil hat territory, right? So with OpenAI, we all know ChatGPT and the versions that have exponentially improved. Like, you look at the original versions versus what's available now, in terms of how powerful it is. So there is word that there's like there's AI within OpenAI, like that is so far advanced as to what's available to public and to other interests.
Yeah.
That there is just no way to release it because of it's just the ramifications. Like, they don't know what would happen. It's just that powerful.
Yeah, I mean, there's a potential.
If we want to get into that realm,
there is potential for it, because
we all grew up watching the Terminator, right?
Yeah.
You know what happens when Skynet gets turned on?
Yeah. I don't want Skynet.
It just goes, so you have all these nukes. I see.
Yeah.
Let's fire them.
They know where the data. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. This is a developing story, and we'll definitely next episode we'll likely have all the details if they are all public, and we'll give you an update then. What else do we have on the menu here?
If you want to keep it in Musk territory, SpaceX.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So, if you've been following along with the show, I've been talking about Starship, the world's largest and most powerful rocket. We finally have SpaceX has conducted its second orbital launch attempt. The world's most powerful and largest rocket, Starship. So this occurred on Saturday night, and as I was about to go to bed at like 11:30, I got a notification from Musk saying T-minus 30 seconds until launch, and I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna happen. They're doing it, because I thought there was going to be, there's always delays with launches. They get the rocket on the thing, then they fill it with propellant, and then, a cloud goes over the top, and they're like, ooh, not today.
Yes.
Yeah. Or there's too much wind, and they're like, no, we need a window. So the windows are small for these things. So, I was very excited, but 11:30, so then I, hit the keyboard. I'm sitting there, I'm watching the rocket. It launches, and it's climbing in altitude, and I'm just sitting there with like my hands on the thing, just like a little kid, just watching this rocket. I'm like, oh my God, is it going to explode? And then it got to the part of the process of the launch where they do something called hot staging. It's the separation between the first stage and the second stage. So every rocket, or at least the ones that Musk is building and the ones that I'm aware of, it has the first stage is the booster, and the booster is what is used to get through the densest part of Earth's atmosphere. It's like the thickest part of it. And then once it reaches a high enough mark in altitude, the booster isn't necessary anymore. And it actually, and I'm just guessing on this part, would probably be detrimental for the rocket to reach its trajectory, because there's more weight on it. So it disconnects. And this is what they call hot staging. Now, during the first orbital launch attempt, which was conducted on April 20th this year, Starship exploded midair in what SpaceX call a rapid unscheduled disassembly, which is it's a nice way to say it went boom.
It went boom, yeah. But that's fun. Rapid
unscheduled disassembly, or they call it a RUD. So during that launch, and a RUD was initiated after the hot staging failure. So a fire on the side of the booster and Starship severed communications with SpaceX, and they weren't able to initiate the hot staging. So the entire 394-foot rocket started to tumble midair, and then as soon as it started to tumble, there's no recovery, mission abort.
Yeah,
and there's
the explode button.
You don't even have to press it. The rocket just explodes. Like it knows if it falls out of, like, say there's a window of trajectory going up. For audio listeners, I've got my hands next to each other, and there's like a road in the sky. If it falls out of that too much, it bam, boom, gone.
Yeah.
So second orbital launch attempt, rocket reaches altitude, hot staging initiated. It looks incredible when it's happening, and I might have a photo for it that I can throw up on the screen right here. I posted about it yesterday. Video here. Hot staging. Yes, there's a video in the article. Reese put it on the screen somewhere here so everyone can see it. And it is the first stage, the booster successfully separating from Starship. Major achievement. That was the primary goal of this orbital launch attempt. Even though it is called, like, we are trying to get to orbit every single time, they have objectives leading up to it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so huge achievement. Super heavy, the booster explodes midair after it's successfully disconnected and at a safe distance from Starship. Then the Starship vehicle, the smaller top half of the rocket, continues to go out into keeps on climbing in altitude, and then shortly afterwards you just see a plume of gas in the sky, and you can't see the rocket because it's so high up. You just see a plume of gas, and I've got a GIF that, Reese, you can throw on the screen here. That's what was on the live stream. There is better footage of it now. from different angles that have been posted online in the following days. But that orange video that is in my SpaceX hit major milestones with second Starship orbital launch attempt that exploded mid-air news piece. That is what everyone saw. And the silence during that was deafening. It's like, because we're all sitting there, and then the numbers on I don't know why this GIF is such low res, but the numbers on the bottom there were just like tracking the speed of the rocket, and they just stopped. And I'm like, oh no.
Uh-oh.
And then you just see that plume of gas, that little like poof, that little fart of gas, and then it just goes up, and then you're like, oh, it's gone. Yeah, it's gone. It's like $100 million just exploded midair, and then we started to see better footage of it. It's like some videos posted to TikTok of it actually exploding. You get a much better view of it. But yeah, regardless of the explosion, the mission was deemed a success, and SpaceX has incrementally pushed itself forward to achieving the world's largest and most powerful, rapidly reusable rocket.
Yep.
The means of transportation that will hopefully... Yeah. Well, this is the process. Like, if you've been following SpaceX long enough, or like perhaps the career of Elon Musk, you remember all of those rockets that he like tried to land out in the middle to sea, and they all exploded. These are all like the Falcon 9, Falcon Heavy rockets, and now both of those rockets, the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy, are workhorse rockets that are constantly ferrying satellites to orbit, cargo to the ISS. It's like the process of this is, well, Elon Musk's process is to, and he carries this same strategy across all of his companies, is move fast, break stuff. So,
but this is like also like NASA, right? So you look at the Apollo missions, like it was not Apollo 1 that landed on the moon.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
It's 11.
Yeah. After every single test, you learn more, and then you implement those changes.
You don't get there in the first go. It's like you got to get somebody. You got to get into orbit. You got to see if we can go around the moon. We got to see if we can. Like.
And we're still doing that today. We're still doing that today, even with the current NASA missions.
Yeah, the first people to the moon didn't land on the moon.
Yeah,
it was just like let's see if we can get there and get back.
With the Artemis missions, we've done Artemis. I think we've done Artemis 1. Artemis 2 is essentially a reconnaissance mission where we put astronauts in the Orion capsule, send them around the moon. They'll be the furthest any human has ever traveled in space when we go around. I think we take an elliptical orbit around the moon and then come back to Earth. But both Artemis 1 and Artemis 2 are essentially reconnaissance missions to test all of the equipment aboard the Orion capsule. And then on Artemis 3 is when we soft land on the moon again. It will be the first time in 50 years since a human has landed on the surface of the moon. But yeah, well, that illustrates the like, okay, we'll just this is essentially what happens. NASA's like, we'll go check it out, and then they send a unmanned Orion capsule around the moon, and they're like, all right, it looks okay, and then they go like, all right, let's put people in the Orion capsule. They'll go check it out, and then they send that one, and they're like, and then they come back, and then they're like, all right, how was it? And then those people will go, yeah, it's all good. It's like, all right, now let's land on it. That's what they like. That's the Artemis missions in a nutshell. In a nutshell. But yes, I'm very happy that hot staging was achieved. It is a critical component of eventually getting Starship to orbit. A massive objective, especially considering the size of this rocket. And I mean, no one's ever flown anything this big before. So working out all of the flight characteristics for something this large, this heavy, I just want to say the equation of Earth's atmosphere, the density, the amount of thrust you need, where you need to reduce drag, all of these things is like what SpaceX are learning every single time that they launch this rocket.
Yeah.
And it will, I don't know how many times they're going to do, RUD ending launches before it actually just lands back on the ground, or at least the booster does. But it will be a few. And this isn't like surprising to SpaceX. I've seen plenty of articles online. It's like, oh, it's ended in failure, or just people commenting. It's like, oh yeah, cool launch. Like, yeah, it was sick. What a failure. That's not. It is a success. This is expected by SpaceX. This is what they do. They've been doing this. So yes, that is an update on Starship, and just another update. This is an article that I got to write later on today. Elon said that it should be 3 to 4 weeks before we do another Starship orbital launch attempt, because SpaceX, well, both stages of that specific rocket no longer exist, only in small nuts and bolts. But they have already built the next generation Starship and are implementing all of the changes from the data that they've gathered on the second orbital launch attempt into what will be the third orbital launch attempt. So they've got Starships on back order ready, kind of like just bare bones. And with the acquired data, they go, all the engineers come in, they're like, bzz, 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 like NASCAR drivers, where they're just like taking out tires. And they're like, okay, we need to add this, do that. So if that's true, and Elon Musk is in like, and he does this constantly, optimistically putting out timelines for things, Cybertruck, then we should see more Starship launches consistently, which is good. Because the more launches, the faster they launch. Sorry.
I just want to see people land on the moon and Mars.
That'd be so epic.
That's what you want, right? Like, cause, like, you know, when you hear stories of like people that, from that generation that were like watching the moon landing on TV and stuff. Or,
yeah.
Like,
that'd be incredible.
How cool would that be?
And
like,
ours will be live streamed.
TV, we'll be live streaming it on YouTube or Twitch or whatever. Whatever service. You'll be on your phone, out and about. Be watching it. How crazy would
and
that
the humans are walking around on our nearest neighbor. That would be, oh man, it would be incredible.
So good.
Absolutely incredible. So yeah, there's a bit of Starship for you. Keep your eye out for more launches. And if you haven't ever seen a launch, check it out. It's pretty cool to watch something like that's a human feat of engineering. The fact that we're even attempting to do this is impressive in itself. Let's move on to something else here. What else do we have?
Do we want to touch on, before we get back into a couple of GPU things, the Game Awards?
Oh, absolutely. I know nothing about this.
Snubs and flubs and what's going to win. So the Game Awards, hosted by Jeff Keighley, it's a pretty major thing now. So it's you would say the equivalent of like the Oscars for gaming.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of,
for sure. It even looks like the Oscars.
Yeah, and also like they do reveals and stuff as there as well, like announcements, but like, you know, it's gaming is huge, right? In terms of revenue, more than movies. So it's the fact that there is an award show like this makes perfect sense.
Do you remember when E3 was better than this?
When E3? Yeah. Well,
E3 kind of sucks now. The Game Awards is where you get, you know, your creamier crop announcements, I would say. That and the when they what's the one that happens in Germany? Gamescom. Those two. Am I wrong saying that? Don't you think E3's fallen off a little bit? Because didn't all the publishers pull out?
Yeah, but also like now, like you just have like the Xbox Summer Showcase, which happens when E3 usually happens. So they do their announcements then. Yeah. Sony, I don't think they did one like this year, but like Nintendo do one. It's just gone like... Yeah,
but they've all gone independent. But back in the day, I remember covering it.
Yeah, that's just all over the place.
Everyone used to go to E3 to do these announcements. And now you've got the Game Awards. Ubisoft hosts their own thing.
That's right, yeah, like the summer showcases.
E3 is like...
Yeah. It was supposed to come back this year or next year, but then it got cancelled again.
Yeah. It's sad times. We were just like, that's an end of an era, really, if it doesn't come back. But anyway, sorry. I digress.
Yeah. So
Game
Game
Awards.
Awards 2023. So the nominations have been announced, and for Game of the Year. So there are some omissions, but the Game of the Year nominees are Alan Wake 2, which is a surprise, sort of like a recent addition, because that game is pretty fresh, only came out a couple of weeks ago.
How did
Baldur's
that
Gate
get
3,
nominated?
Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Who
and
put
The
that in
Legend
there?
and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Who put Super Mario Bros. Wonder?
It's supposed to be really good, though. It is. Yeah. Everybody that's played it reckons it's one of the best 2D Marios since the Super Nintendo era.
But is it Game of the Year good? Surely,
Well,
name it.
who's
Come
to
on,
say?
what else came out this year? That's
All right.
come on.
So what's been snubbed? Well, Starfield is not on that list. Hogwarts Legacy is not on that list. Diablo 4 is didn't make Game of the Year nominee.
I'm furious.
Also, the Star Wars Jedi Survivor didn't make it.
That's
So
meant to be really good
that
too.
Yeah, that was a great game, but it was just marred by performance issues. That was like the only negative thing around that.
EA.
Yeah, so there are like obviously I think Starfield is kind of like a hit and miss sort of game. Some people love it, some people don't, because of how the game sort of works, how it's very mechanics and the systems are a little bit obtruse.
Yeah.
But if it was up to me, like my most played game this year was Diablo 4. I would say it's a Game of the Year nomination.
And that was fine at launch. How is Super Mario
it's in a
Bros.
good place
Wonder
again, yeah.
in this? Who
These are
made this
recent games.
list?
Well, it's all the
Who voted for
publications.
this?
Do you want to know how it works?
Yes.
So basically, I've been on the panel for the Game Awards a couple of times.
What?
So basically,
Sorry.
yeah. Well, like with my gaming stuff, like with
Yeah.
gamers and stuff, like they get like all like the gaming publications, they get ones from different countries, like including Australia, the US, Europe, and as well and also now like notable creators as well. So what happens is that they you get this form and you nominate what they have all the categories and you just basically just nominate games, and then at least 3 in each. Like if you're going to nominate for a category, you don't have to like there's categories like best esports team. Like who the hell knows that, right?
Dear God.
But yeah, so you got to put at least 3 in. And then
Yeah.
after that, the nominations are announced. And when the nominations are announced, if you're like on the panel or a judge or whatever the case is, you'll find out pretty much at the same time as anybody else. And and half the time you'll be like surprised of like, oh, how did that make it?
So, do you
It's a
think
little bit
Super
strange.
Mario
I think
Bros.
Bal-
Wonder should be in there?
Sorry,
I can't get past this. I didn't even know this. I knew this game came out, but I never
it came out
thought.
like a couple of weeks ago, dude. So that's like this is the weird thing, right? So like, there's always like like the Oscars, like they release movies like a month before it comes out. Like when there's Oscar season, when like those movies sort of come out like in November,
so you can
December,
get the hype for it.
because the Oscars are in like February. Like if you remember when Tears of the Kingdom came out in February or March this year,
Yeah.
10 out of 10 around the board, right? Everybody that plays it says this is one of the most meticulously well-designed games ever.
And it even
It's
leaked.
amazing.
It even leaked
Yeah.
as well.
It's like this is a shoo-in, right? But now people are thinking, well, Baldur's Gate 3 is another surprise one, right? That's apparently one of the best RPGs and another 10 out of 10 sort of masterpiece. So it's kind of like between those two games. But because Zelda came out months before that, Baldur's Gate is the fresh hotness, right? So people will just be like, oh yeah, so they're going to vote for that. And it's like,
you get put in the back burner a little bit just purely because of when it came out.
Yeah, Super Mario Brothers Wonder has got like all these games have super high Metacritic score, so it's not to disparage any of them, but like it comes down to, with like Alan Wake 2 and Mario Brothers Wonder, they're like just brand new games and they're great games, so they've made the list.
Okay, so out of the games that I've played or have at least researched enough to be able to give an opinion on them, for Game of the Year, It is out of Baldur's Gate 3 and Marvel's Spider-Man 2 for me.
You reckon?
Oh, no, sorry. Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, I think it's between Baldur's Gate 3 and Zelda.
You don't think Spider-Man 2?
I don't like the Spider-Man games all that much.
Really? What's wrong with them?
They're okay. I don't particularly like those sort of action games.
You don't like beat 'em ups?
No.
Nah, fair enough. So you don't like any of like the Batman, Arkham Knight?
Oh, I did, but like,
because that's
weird,
essentially
right? So,
it like.
Yeah, but I think Arkham Knight's better than the Spider-Man games.
Really?
I think the combat is better.
That's a hot take.
And,
I wish I had that. Bom, 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 bom.
You don't think like the stealth in the Spider-Man? I only played the first
Batman's
one.
way cooler
like
than
really
Spider-Man.
Basic.
Yeah, Batman's way cooler than Spider-Man. Spider-Man's like a kid. Batman's a billionaire, like playboy philanthropist.
Stopping crimes.
That is got an affinity with the bat. Way cooler. Anyway, I think it would be out of those three games. I think if I mean I love an underdog. Baldur's Gate 3 is beloved in the RPG community, and who developed that? I would love to see
Larian Studios. So they're an independent team.
Exactly.
Right? So
I would love to see them get an award for that because, I love an underdog.
If it doesn't win Game of the Year, it's going to win Best RPG, hands down.
Oh, for sure.
So the Best RPG category is the only category that Starfield appears in.
I think it'll beat Starfield.
Yeah, for sure. And just based on choice. So like in Baldur's Gate 3, right? Like based on your choices, like who you side with or whatever your decisions you make. Like you can like start wars. You can be you can change the course of the story and the world.
I know.
You can have a real impact.
I've seen how in depth it is.
There's been nothing like it.
Yeah, I've seen how in depth it is, and it's really, and what I've read on it, it's reinvigorated Dungeons and Dragons. In a sense. And
you can also have sex with a bear.
There's always that. How much is this game? How much is this game? Costa, can you get this game for free? Sorry, you said bear? No, I do. I love a little indie studio. I mean, I don't want to call them little. They're one of the most decorated studios after this release. But I would love to see them walk out with the Game of the Year for that.
I think I wouldn't be like disappointed. Like I think Zelda or that winning is like a good sort of like outcome because you got like two like games that have taken not only just years to develop but like years for like teams to really create something that is different and pushing their respective styles and genres forward. Yeah,
no, I agree. I
think the only one that's kind of like a weird one is Resident Evil 4, right? And that is a full remake of Resident Evil 4. And Resident Evil 4 is one of the best games. But it's kind of like the same game, right?
Yeah,
so like,
of course
how's
it
that
is.
Game of the Year?
I didn't even consider it. Yeah, no.
There's a whole bunch of other nominations we won't go through. But yeah, I think...
The full list it will be in the article linked into the description below. You've got... every year there's multiple categories. You got Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Adaptation, Best Narrative, Direction, Score, Music, so on and so forth. Go check them out. You'll probably be able to find some of your favorite games in there.
Mm-hmm. And the awards will be on Thursday, December 7th at 4:30 PT time, streamed pretty much everywhere. And after that after that, we'll cover a couple of the winners and
some of the announcements.
As well. Because there's still the possibility that GTA 6 trailer will drop during the Game Awards.
I will be violent if it does. I'll be like grabbing the person next to me. I'm like, ah! It's happening.
It's almost like I don't think that they should, just because it's going to detract too much. Like it's too big. Like,
I'll forget about the awards.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even know where I am.
The awards, right? Yeah, like it's almost like you're doing a disservice to all the nominees,
and nothing can follow it. Nothing can follow it. Yeah, nothing can follow it. It would have to be the last thing that they show.
It has to be a week. There has to be like a week buffer between the GTA 6 trailer and the Game Awards.
Nothing will be announced by any other publisher or developer in the week following GTA 6 trailer coming out. It'll be
even, like,
silence.
Discussion or discourse. Yeah, like you couldn't even like talk about like Game of the Years and stuff. Like
I'd be telling people to shut up. I'll be like, don't talk about that game. The GTA 6 trailer's out.
Frame 237 of the trailer.
Yeah,
see in
look
the background
at this.
there?
What do you think this is? All right, let's flex into something else here. What do we have? What do we have next? Oh, we've done those ones. Should we talk about the Devil Comet? Comet.
We'll do some fun ones. All right, you do fun one, then I'll follow up with a fun one.
All right, no worries. So there is an icy comet that is racing towards Earth. It is...
Oh, well, maybe this is not that fun.
I mean, it's fun for me. The comet is none other than 12P/Pons Brooks. It is a humongous comet. I can't remember if I covered it on the podcast before. I probably have, because I've been reporting on it as it's approaching Earth continuously. So the size is 18 miles wide, or approximately 3 times the size of Mount Everest. And it has been in the astronomy spotlight for quite some time, as its orbit is its closest approach to Earth comes every 72 years, if I'm correct. It is a long time. It is a very long time, regardless. So, difference between comets and asteroids. Comets are usually ice. Asteroids are usually rock. But as the comet is approaching Earth, its icy surface begins to heat, and its innards, which are less dense than its outer crust, if I'm certain, begin to melt and forming gas. That gas then builds pressure under the icy crust, and when it gets hot enough and there's enough pressure, boom, outburst, massive outburst of outgassing. And then through that outgassing, we get the iconic comet tail, or as astronomers called, a comma. So as the comet is hurtling its way towards the inner solar system, it is continuously getting hotter and hotter and hotter as it's approaching the sun, which means more outgassing, more explosions, and it becomes more active than it does usually. Now, this comet is, I think, 3 or 4 times the size of what an average comet is. It is humongous. And the outgassing actually forms devil horns, what looks like devil horns, on when you're looking through an astronomer's telescope at it. Mm-hmm. And there's an image that's in my article that for everyone listening, head over to the YouTube section. You can see the difference over the days of brightness. So when the comet is outgassing, there's a lot of gas surrounding it, which means there's more mass for light to reflect off of. So through an astronomer's telescope, the object appears brighter because there's more light being reflected off of the gas molecules. Yep. Yeah. So Earth is safe, by the way. This is just a cool comet that comes around every 70-something years. It's traveling at 40,000 miles per hour. And for something that's...
Do you have a telescope?
Do I have a telescope? No, I would love one though.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
I would just I
would love one. Yeah, I've always wanted one, but I don't know how much I can see in the southern hemisphere. There's most of the stuff that I'm reporting on is from the northern, so it's like I miss out on a lot of it, unfortunately. But yeah, I would love one. If any telescope companies want to sponsor the podcast, send me a telescope. I'll take some photos. This comment, just to round this story off, this is really quick. Yeah, the comet is moving at an astonishing 40,000 miles per hour, and on June 2nd, 2024, it will come within 144 million miles of Earth, which is approximately 1.5 times the distance between Earth and the Sun. So it's very far away, still close in quotation marks relative to the size of the universe. But yeah, cool. You could probably see it from if you had a telescope in your backyard. When it's getting to its closest approach, but yeah, cool little Devil Comet.
Cool to see.
Yeah, hit me up with your fun story.
So going back to the increasing scarcity of the RTX 4090 GPU.
Oh yeah.
So a video went viral. So basically, somebody took. We know how big GPUs are, right?
Yeah.
And so that's become like a meme. So somebody took the Asus ROG Strix GeForce RTX 4090 OC edition. It's a long name, but it's their flagship GPU.
Yeah.
And they put some wheels on it and turned it into a skateboard.
Oh my god! I'm just trying to find
And the video is of them just it's like it's big enough for you to be technically a small skateboard.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
And
wow.
so that went viral, and then obviously people are like, well, that's a flex. Like, just buying a 2,000 plus now GPU and slapping some wheels on it and riding it around town.
Awesome. That is
But then
awesome.
obviously there's obviously jokes around that. It's like, is like how many frames per second are you doing?
What resolution is this?
The fact that he's not falling off means that the driver is working fine.
Oh my god, I love that.
But
I love that
good.
one.
So and then like on Reddit, the person who created it basically said the company he works for is it like in the PC business, where they build PCs with water blocks, and so they would put together a whole bunch of PCs with like 4090s with water block systems and closed loop cooling and all that sort of fun, funky stuff. And so there was like a discard pile of shrouds, and he took the 4090 shroud and turned it into a skateboard.
Yeah.
So it's not
I was thinking
the actual GPU hardware.
Yeah, I was going to say the GPU actually isn't in there.
But would be cool is that if you could hook up a battery just to get the LEDs working as well.
That would be crazy. That would be awesome. Oh, there's no grip tape on that at all. He's got it.
Well, no. This is not going to.
Oh, no, it's very cool. It's in the same lane as that. What was the? Was it Steam Deck? That someone put 700 terabytes in.
60 terabytes.
Yeah, 61.5 terabytes or whatever. This is something bizarre. No, very funny. I do like stuff like this. It just it triggers so many people that are like, why would you do this? It's like, your reaction is why he did this. He wouldn't have done it for any other reason besides to like, oh, maybe this is gonna piss some people off.
I hope it like sparks like more people just using like PC hardware or like massive GPUs for things that they weren't designed for.
Oh my god! When I used to work with Anthony, this is just a quick story, and he was reviewing GPUs. He had a stack of 900 series and the 1000 series GPUs sitting next to him in two stacks because we were benching, and he had a coffee, and this guy is sitting this coffee on top of the backplate of this stack of cards. And I looked over and I'm like, hey, can you check the scores in and then I just saw the mug and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I don't have enough room here. I'm like, you're stacking GPUs, which is is like and then you put a coffee mug on top of it, which is like again. And he's like, I just don't care. It was just crazy. I was like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah, very good. I like that one. That's very funny. What else do we have left here? Do you want to do the Microsoft Azure Cobalt?
Oh yeah. So obviously, the OpenAI stuff is ongoing.
Yeah.
But other big Microsoft story for the week is that they're developing their own chips.
Yeah.
And this is not like a chip for a Surface product or anything like that. This is a custom CPU and AI accelerator / GPU. So they've announced them. They haven't released the full specs, but they're designed, obviously, they're Microsoft Azure chips. So they're designed for their cloud and AI.
Yeah.
So you've got the Cobalt 100 CPU, which is using ARM architecture. And then you've got the Microsoft Azure Maya AI accelerator, which is a GPU designed for generative AI and large language models. And both are on track to release sometime next year. Now, this is obviously Microsoft moving into the chip market itself, and also as it invests heavily in expanding the Azure cloud data centers and stuff globally. So they're actively looking to long term to make things more cost effective. So essentially, this is directly going to compete with hardware from NVIDIA, like the H100 GPUs.
Absolutely.
Hardware from AMD's new Instinct AI hardware.
Yeah.
Whatever Intel's cooking up and everything else. So what they have said about their AI, the big one is like the Maya 100 AI accelerator, which is the GPU, right? So they've already said that it's going to be using TSMC's 5 nanometer process, which is not the most cutting edge, right? So Hopper uses 4 nanometer.
Okay.
And the next gen Blackwell or the next gen NVIDIA AI hardware will use 3 nanometer.
Yeah.
So, but it is a 5 nanometer chip with 105 billion transistors on it. Now, this is like, transistor count isn't a way to work
measure
out, how powerful
performance.
some performance.
Yeah.
But it is a measure of like how, I guess how physically, not just how physically big it is, but like how, what the ambition of it is. This is like a hardcore chip, right? Like if you compare it to the Hopper H100 GPU, that's got 80 billion transistors. But AMD's flagship MI300X, the Instinct AI GPU that Microsoft has said they're going to be using for certain things as well, that has 153 billion transistors. But that one's more comparative because that's also on a 5 nanometer process node. So I think they're going for a more of a like NVIDIA H100, where it's like cost effective, not Grace Hopper. It's not like the most advanced or the going to be running the most powerful data centers in the world. It's more for them to scale the Azure cloud network. And then the CPU is also designed specifically for the cloud. Now, they haven't shared benchmarks or anything like that, and that'll be when it becomes more interesting. But they said that it's currently being tested and it's in the early phases of deployment. So it's not ready to share full specs. So Microsoft isn't ready to share full specs or benchmarks at the moment.
Yeah.
But and they also have said explicitly, and rightfully so, because it's that they are going to continue to partner with and deploy hardware from NVIDIA, AMD into AI systems, which obviously makes sense because it's not like they're going to, like, you don't transition to your own chips and say like, oh, well, see you later. We've got our own chip now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is about part
tested.
of Microsoft's push into more generative AI ventures. Yep. And this is Microsoft isn't alone in doing this. Facebook are doing the same thing. I did a story yesterday about, Meta. Meta disbanding their responsible AI development team. There's like a regulatory body within Meta that was responsible for making sure Meta develop AI responsibly. It was disbanded. Majority of the workers were put onto generative AI ventures. So, and Meta has been shifting in this direction for some time. Microsoft is doing the exact same thing. They wouldn't have invested $10 billion in OpenAI if they weren't planning for generative AI ventures through like Bing and all like autopilot and all of those things. Yeah, we've even got a quote from Sam Altman here, and at the time of writing was CEO of OpenAI. Currently not.
Yeah. Since first partnering with Microsoft, we've collaborated to co-design Azure's AI infrastructure at every layer for our models and unprecedented training needs, said Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI. We were excited when Microsoft first shared their designs for the Maya chip, so they've obviously working with Sam and OpenAI, and we worked together to refine and test it with our models. Azure's end-to-end AI architecture, now optimized down to the silicon with Maya, paves the way for training more capable models and making those models cheaper for our customers. So
these chips are going to work way better on GPTs.
So Sam Altman could be CEO of this division too, like the hardware.
Oh, for sure. Like, what I take away from this is Microsoft has made chips that are optimized down to the silicon level, like they said, for training OpenAI's language models, the GPT, the underlying LLM that's powering AI tools such as ChatGPT and Dolly 3. Yep. And also like Copilot and stuff like that, like Bing Chat. And I mean, that's all using OpenAI's underlying tech. And now they've created hardware that is going to, I mean, they're going to get so much more powerful. This is something that I suppose we haven't seen before yet, because we haven't had hardware specifically designed to train large language models. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, like, but NVIDIA sort of like hardware is kind of like that, really, because all one of the reasons why they're so far ahead is that like they've been developing this stuff long before most people were investing so heavily.
Yeah, but are they more multi-purpose though? Like,
but they're like CUDA. The whole CUDA system is.
Oh right, yeah, of course,
language. It's
yeah.
Like, it's all like it's intrinsically tied. Like tensor.
I was just thinking
stuff.
is like this is more like these chips are specifically designed to do OpenAI large language models. It's like maybe we'll see more of a like there'll be a massive. I expect a massive performance because they're going to be so heavily optimized, but. Maybe NVIDIA's CUDA chips, they'll still...
It'll be interesting to see, because Microsoft, I mean, just the fact that Microsoft is developing a chip is pretty big news.
No, absolutely.
They've always been like, you know, you go back, like they've been in the PC business since forever, right? And when they're developing Windows and stuff, they didn't turn around and say, hey, we're going to make a CPU for Windows and it's going to be optimized for Windows. And, you know, it's going to compete with the Intel Pentium or whatever it was back then. Like, they didn't do that. So them doing this for AI is huge, because a lot of it, because they're rolling out so much hardware, and like they got to be looking at it in terms of like cost effectiveness. Like, that's why like this is not going to be the most cutting edge in terms of process node. So it's but like, so a lot of companies are looking, because NVIDIA hardware and even like the AMD flagship hardware, this is expensive stuff, right? To buy, to run,
to make.
AI. And to create, to develop,
to make it,
to make all that sort of stuff. So they're looking at, well, if we're gonna be running, because you know let's say the Azure data center in Sydney, right? If that's going to be storing a local version of this AI large language model to be for people to run from the cloud from any Windows device, it'll be running on, you know, whatever, how many of these Maya chips.
Yeah, exactly right.
So let's just install them, right?
Yeah.
So like we don't need to, we can develop and roll that at scale, right? So then we can say in this city, the exact same system gets loaded in, and then all customers that are Office 365 customers in that region plug into that system, and they're all running these chips, and they're all running these models, and it's their in-house tech. There's obviously costs associated with that, but it's cheaper than...
So they're trying to cut some of the lunch from NVIDIA, because isn't NVIDIA's GPUs powering majority of OpenAI's LLMs?
That's right.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. This is going to be... Oh, I like this, Kosta. Ooh.
Yeah, this is spicy stuff, because like it evolve over the next couple of years to see
Yeah.
how it all pans out.
Is
Because
it-
NVIDIA, their CEO Jensen Huang has basically said recently, like they know that their position in AI is constantly under attack.
Oh, for sure, because they're the only ones powering it. For sure. Do we have anything more on that one? That's a very interesting
No,
story. I'm going
But
to keep
it's
my
cool
eye on
though.
that.
I mean, like it's fun because, like, I mean, they haven't. We'll update once we get full specs and benchmarks and things like
Yeah.
that. But it's just
Yeah, of
cool to
course.
see, like, silicon with just like Microsoft Azure on it. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, there it
Very
is.
cool.
There's a chip, a Microsoft chip.
Should we go to... Did you have anything more serious, or did you want to end in something fun? I think we can wrap up for time here.
Yeah.
Yeah? We can end at a few fun stories.
Yeah, let's do a couple of fun ones. I'll do a fun one and then will do a fun one, or vice
Yeah,
versa.
go for it.
So my one is a story that's going up today. So I'll have to school you on this.
Go ahead.
So months ago, a guy named James Lambert, who's like a coder who loves the Nintendo 64. And if you know the Nintendo 64 from your childhood,
Mm-hmm.
that came out in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
It was
I
one
wasn't
of the
even
first...
born yet.
Exactly right. And this was like 3D gaming at the very
GoldenEye.
earliest stages of 3D gaming.
Mm.
So James Lambert, who's a coder, he knows the N64 hardware in and out. He's basically a Jedi level programmer because he's managed to get Portal, Valve's game from 2011, the groundbreaking game where when you first saw it, you were like, what?
Mm.
Like, this is like futuristic stuff. Like, how is this even possible? The fact that you can walk through a portal and then end up in a different place and you can see the place through the thingo.
Yeah.
So he spent ages, like months, on a project to port Portal to the Nintendo 64.
Why?
Because it's
why
amazing,
not?
dude.
Because why not?
Because he can do it, and it's now gotten to the point where it's playable. So you can, he's got a GitHub page which will be linked in the article,
Yeah.
where you need a copy of the game through Steam. It's obviously very cheap on Steam to pick up the original Portal. So it's got 12 test chambers from the game in there and playable. It's got fully functional portals and the portal gun. It's got a fully functional physics engine. You know, where you pick up the cubes and drop them, press the buttons, etc., etc.
Oh my
It's got
Lord.
a lighting system in there. It's got menus. It's got like language subtitles and stuff that is ported across. It's got cutscenes. It's even got like rudimentary reflections. So like, I tell you what makes this hilarious is because like, you remember when the 4090 came out and the 4080 last year, NVIDIA released Portal RTX.
Yeah.
Which is a full path traced version of the game with frame generation, and you needed like a 4080 to run it, right?
Yeah.
And it looks amazing, right? Because it's a fully path traced Portal. And this is the complete opposite of that. This is Portal running on hardware from a 2011 game, running on hardware, groundbreaking game from 2011, running on hardware from 1996.
So funny.
And it works. So there'll be
What
videos.
FPS do you get?
If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be seeing like video running from the article and screenshots and stuff.
Yeah.
So it obviously looks like an N64 game, but it's
Yeah.
amazing to see the fact this is a hardcore programming tricks to actually get the portal effect where you shoot one portal and you see the other. The way that the N64 works, because the N64 was groundbreaking for the way it handled 3D graphics. Like it had features that the original PlayStation didn't have, like a Z buffer or to calculate space in 3D.
Yeah.
You got the X, Y, and then you got the Z axis. So like the original PlayStation 3D games like Crash Bandicoot and those sort of games, they looked a bit fuzzy. Like if you look at those games running on the original PlayStation hardware, you will see like the polygons kind of like warp or like basically pulsate, or like they're not stable.
Yeah.
And that's because the hardware couldn't reconcile like that sort of stuff. There was no anti-aliasing. Like everything was pixelated on the original PlayStation. The polygons are all like shaky and movie, and that's kind of like you go, oh, that looks like a PlayStation game because the 3D looks that certain way. On the N64, things were kind of like more blurry because they had hardcore texture filtering, they had anti-aliasing, they had a bit more advanced like 3D stuff, but it wasn't as great for 2D stuff. But anyway, so like this programmer knows how the N64 works, and using like how it was groundbreaking in some areas, he managed to get like the portal system to work, and to even at a playable frame rate, he had to like basically when you look through the portal, like only render exactly what you're seeing at this specific time that you're looking through it. So it's because you can't store it in memory.
Yeah, you feel it.
You have to kind of like it has to like render as like that buffer, like taking data from another area of the map to actually render it in real time.
Wow.
And did all those sort of tricks and added lighting and stuff, and the portal gun works, and he's going to get the full game in there. That's the goal.
God.
But it's like and so there's people that have, so like to say that this is working on the N64, right? So there's like there's retro gamers and hackers, or like not hackers, or like modders, right? So there is like cartridges that you can get where you can download ROMs onto and plug that into your N64 to fire up your N64 hardware with a controller and play the game, right? So you're playing on actual hardware. So this portal, you can get it into that form, plug it into your N64, turn it on, and then play Portal. And it works. It just
Good on him. Good on him. You can't knock that. That sounds like a big effort, and yeah, I asked why at the start, but why not? If you can do it,
like imagine this came out like for the N64, like back then in 1996, like a game like Portal.
That would be
the world
crazy.
would be a different place right now.
It would be. The gaming,
this
gaming
is alternate
would be
timeline
different.
Stuff.
Yeah, it is. It is alternate timeline. That is very
like,
funny.
An alternate universe Portal was released in 1996 on the N64.
Yeah. Oh my lord. Wow. Good on him. Shout out to that guy. He is killing it out there. Good on you, programming. That kind of stuff makes me happy.
Lambert.
Yeah, James Lambert. Should we round off this episode with Snoop Dogg trolling the entire planet?
Yeah, why not?
This is so Snoop Dogg. This is just a bit of fun, just because I thought this was fun. This isn't really like tech or science or space related news. This is
I thought it was real, like because I just skimmed over and I thought this was real. But go ahead.
It was real for a little bit. So Snoop Dogg took to his social media accounts and said, "I'm giving up smoke." And there was a photo of him saying, "After much consideration and conversation with my family, I've decided to give up smoke. Please respect my privacy at this time." And as everyone knows, Snoop Dogg is very closely associated with cannabis.
And smoking.
And smoking that cannabis. It's almost to the point where wherever he goes, he is just allowed to pull one up, light it, and just go to town on it. Like, and no one can stop him. He's told, I've watched interviews with him previously, he's smoked in the White House before and no one even stopped him. Yeah. Which is crazy that you've got that much ability to just pull, like that's how synonymous smoking cannabis is with Snoop Dogg. So he comes out, says that everyone thinks that he's stopping smoking, and cannabis related stocks dropped. People began selling shares in cannabis ETF, Global X cannabis ETFs.
So it was like their biggest I was going to say smokesperson, but that actually works. Yeah, spokesperson retired.
Yeah, smokesperson. That's funny. Aurora Cannabis Inc., a licensed cannabis producer. It opened lower. So a lot of cannabis-related companies took a stock hit because Snoop said that he wasn't smoking anymore. Now, this is the best part. Is 10 hours ago.
What? So, all right, let's build this up a bit, right? So that news was announced, and then a lot of people were like, what? And then there's like all these jokes that start appearing, like, oh, might be just like a joke just because he's starting an edibles company or something like that. It's going to be like Snoop Eats.
That's what I thought.
Whatever.
Snoopy's or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But what it's actually for is you couldn't have predicted, really, I don't think. But go ahead.
So there's the video. Reese, play it on here somewhere and just have the podcast pause and you'll hear the audio play. Snoop sitting down in front of a fire, and he says that just listen to it, that he's giving up smoke, and it is all an ad for a bloody solo stove, a smokeless stove.
An outdoor smokeless stove. How much money would have been paid?
Oh my god. It would be millions. I think it would be millions. It wouldn't be in the hundreds of thousands. This video has 36.4 million views on X.
Like
10 hours ago.
A smokeless stove, right? When have you ever seen an ad for a stove, or like an outdoor stove, like a fireplace or whatever? Like, who's like are you gonna like buy one? Like,
I don't understand
credit to them, because this is brand awareness.
Yeah,
like 101. So like, I don't know if any other outdoor stove or fire-based stove that actually does smoke, but if I'm gonna get one, like let's say I was in the market for one, I would get a smokeless one now.
Yeah, my favorite part of this video is when Snoop is laughing at the end of the video. It feels like he's laughing at he trolled the entire internet with hilarious. With an ad. With an ad. He's laughing at the end of the video. I'm watching it right now. He's giggling to himself.
It's hilarious.
What a troll. What a troll. He would have got paid so much money for that. Would have got paid so much. But yeah, very funny stuff. I think that's just a bit of like, I suppose, internet culture for you to finish off this week's episode. Did you have any other last stories, or
there's one thing we didn't touch on that was in the intro, which is, I'll do this very, very quickly. The most popular GPUs according to Steam.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah. So basically the 4070 is now the 11th most popular GPU on Steam. So that's been moving up the charts alongside the 4060. So, and I guess the big takeaway is that according to Steam, so this is obviously Steam's hardware survey, which is an opt-in survey. It is relatively accurate based on how the numbers move, but the GPU share market for September 2023, and we'll have the October results 2023, so we'll have the November results in a couple of weeks. But Nvidia now has 82.2% of the share of the market share according to Steam, which is an increase by over 5%, and AMD's market share has dropped by 4%, which is crazy.
That's a lot.
So the top 18 GPUs are all
I just did the exact same thing as you. I was looking at the list. I'm like, Nvidia, and I'm like, AMD, 19.
So the 3060 is hands down the most popular.
Don't even tell you what it is.
Then the 3070, then the 1060.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically the 4070 and the 4060 are moving up as popular.
It's good to see that AMD is fighting back.
Yeah,
like I said,
it's a shame.
Everyone loves the underdog story. Everyone.
But it's just the fact that it just moved so big in a month. Like,
I know.
Like Nvidia's increased by 5%, and 5% in Steam is like millions.
Oh yeah, of course it would be. Yeah, absolutely.
Because you've got like how many people use Steam.
Yeah. All right. If that's all you've got to say on that one, I think we've got to wrap this one up. Not like that we get it on time every week anyway, but we do got to do it. So thank you very much for listening to this week's episode of the TT Show. Your host, Jak and Kosta. We will be back every week with the hottest news stories. And if you've made it this far, please go like, comment, and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. And do you have any closing remarks, my good friend?
No. We'll just stay tuned for next week when we'll update the AI story and OpenAI and see what's happening.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a story that, is going to be evolving.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Stay tuned for that. And thank you very much for listening, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.